Welcome back to Behind the Veil, a show that provides insight in how to plan a successful wedding. My name is Keith Willard. I'm your host and the creator of the show, as well as an event planner here in South Florida. Today, we're going to be talking about wedding fashion because honestly, what could be cooler or better than a moment when a bride finds the perfect wedding dress? Or is it? What about the groom? Shouldn't he have his day? And also the mothers, the aunts, the third cousins. Finding the right outfit for a wedding can be a daunting process. So today we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the do's, the don'ts, the trends, the oh my God, she looks amazing, and oh my God, can you believe what she wore? And with that, we have three incredible guests that are going to help us navigate this crazy world of wedding fashion. But before we get to them, let me introduce our usual Behind the Veil crew. Marcy Gutenberg with An Affair to Remember by Marcy. Marcy, it's great to see you.
Great to see you.
As well as Brooke Logan Stoner, our fresh eyes, our Keep It Real girl. Brooke, it's great to see you as well.
Hello, everyone.
So first up is Jan Carroll, the owner of Boca Raton Bridal, a wedding dress boutique, which is a must-have for any bride out there. So Jan bought the store on a whim 15 years ago, and armed with a mortgage, a degree in fashion marketing, as well as a membership in the Bridal Council of New York, she started on this journey. And 15 years later, she now has 13 of those years with the Couples Choice Award from The Knot, as well as Best of from Wedding Wire. Jan, it's great to see you as I stumble over your intro.
That's all right. No worries.
It is awesome to have you on the show. Next is Christian Boehm. Oh, I'm going to totally mess up these words today. CEO of Jaxson Maximums, a men's salon and fine men's clothier. Christian comes from a family seated in fabric. He worked for his allowance stripping down furniture for his mom's custom upholstery company, followed by a double major from Ohio State University to a position with the Tom James Company. Since he has been at the helm of 3 different men's custom clothing companies before taking on the role of CEO and founder of Jaxson Maximums. It is great to see you, Christian. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Great to be here. Thank you, Keith. Hello, all.
And also our third is Rae Ann Panciera, the owner of Susan Roses, a woman's social occasion boutique. Rae Ann has been dressing the women in South Florida for the last 20 years. She has owned and operated 2 bridal salons before taking the helm of Rae Ann's Susan dresses, but is a must for any woman trying to find the right dress for a gala or a wedding. And I also must say that Rae Ann has been having some technical issues, so we're going to try to bring her in throughout the show. But welcome, Rae Ann, when we finally get you on. So let's go ahead and get this started. And I'm going to start with you, Jan. Honestly, we could literally talk about wedding dresses and bridal fashion.
I have stories for you?
Right? I was about to say the crazy amount of stories and the do's and major don'ts that we see day in and day out. But what are some of the basics? Give me like 3 basics that every bride should think about before they even start the journey in finding that perfect dress.
I would say probably the biggest headache is pay attention to who you're bringing. We always end up with the angry, bitter sister or, the mother-in-law that hates you. These are probably not the people that you should bring shopping with you. It just doesn't tend to go well. We've had lots and lots of tears and screaming matches in the store between family members. That would be first and foremost. Next, I would say really give yourself enough time. We get a lot of girls that come in and, they fall in love with something and I can't get it. there's no amount of, wanting that can make something appear in too short a period of time.
So it's not also yes to the dress kind of fun and fabulous?
It helps a lot, I'm not going to lie.
I was about to say.
A couple of cocktails makes it a much easier experience. Yeah, for sure. And then know what you want to spend and just have an open mind. That's probably, I get girls all the time that, want to spend $2,000 and want something for $10,000 or, and that's not a fun when you come in like that, it doesn't end up being a good time.
Honey,
Right,
open mine.
right.
Bring an open checkbook, darling.
Right? Bring it up and checkbook. Well, and then for the men's side of it, we've got Christian with Jaxson Maximus. And by the way, Christian, I'm so thrilled, by the way, that you guys actually have a store that is focused on men. Not only just their being able to do the right tuxedo and suits, but also a salon for hair and facials. Let's put it. I mean, give us a kind of an overview of what you are offering grooms these days.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. We really did build Jaxson Maximus out so men have one place they can come and really get styled literally head to toe. It's one thing for me to say it if it's all right for you. I'm not sure in your video thing how I could switch the screen, but I could do it maybe behind my shoulder and I'll give you a virtual tour. Like, can I switch the screen or no, where it goes out the other side? Probably
Just
not.
So you're not shot in the eye. You're
Let me see here if I could figure.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell by what's behind you right now that it is very men's focused.
So this is the entranceway. As you'll see, I've been getting pretty good at doing these virtual tours. So I'll do it over my shoulder just so I can kind of walk you around and show you. But at Jaxson Maximus, on the one side, when you come in, we have a 12-chair men's salon and barbershop. And we're just voted actually the top 20 in the country. And right now we're waiting to find out if we'll be number one. We're up against all the other 19. Our women's salons. And nothing wrong with that. But we're the only one that was focused on the men. So we've really built out an awesome experience, as you can see. But we have both hairstylists and barbers on staff. And so we're multicultural, meaning we can cut any hair. What I like is when a groom comes to me well before the wedding to have their outfit designed, but we could also get a chance to do a preview cut and talk about how they want to be presented that day as well. We have two haircut experiences. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I also love the fact that you've got really masculine materials. There's brick walls. There's a pool table for those of us that are going to be listening to us on the podcast later. I mean, it's a true male experience. I mean, it's not very fluffy, but high end.
It's very mantastic, as I call it.
Mantastic. I love it.
Great, I love it.
New word.
I'm going to turn the light up
fantastic.
here.
That's an umbrella from the Transtastic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's my favorite room in the whole salon. And what happens here is our signature haircut. For example, you get your haircut first. That's done out in the main salon. But just to show the pampering that comes on with our signature experience, they come back here. They're going to get a paraffin wax dip. Let me see if I could focus the camera back here. But yeah, here you go. So you're dipped in the paraffin wax. And then they'll come into the chair. Our chairs are built for dudes. And so we can fit Shaquille O'Neal in our chairs. No kidding. I have the lights on here, but during the salon service, the lights come down very darkly. There's aromatherapy in the room. Soft music comes on. And basically, you're going to fall asleep in our Zen room. There's no question that happens because I do it all the time. But you'll get, of course, your haircut. Your style and your consultation out in the main salon. They bring you back here and they're going to do a light scalp massage. They'll do a light facial massage as well, which feels amazing because they do it with warm essential oils. And then for a man, they put a hot towel. And the purpose of the hot towel is to open the pores. After the pores are open and it cools to a room temperature, they take it off and they put our bro mask. And our bro mask is something we've been working on well before we opened up and perfected. But it's a cool gelatin mask. It goes all over their face and really makes their skin glowing and look absolutely fantastic. I always say when you leave, basically you're rejuvenated, you're rested, but you look like Rob Lowe. And so it's kind of like the idea. But the bro mask is fantastic that way. And then I'm going to step out of the Zen room in the last 10 seconds just to show you over my shoulder here too. This is our nail salon built for men. And so we do only natural nails. So we focus on the male client. But in this room, we do three things. We do your nails, your foot and hand grooming, we do your brow waxing. So that's the removal of your hair in your nostrils, your brow, and your ears. We also do teeth whitening in this room as well.
So it's so funny that you even brought up the nose
on
thing.
On the salon side, those are the things we do.
Go ahead.
Don't you
And then on the other side.
Oh, and we lost him. But that's all right. He'll dial back in. Right, that he'll dial back in. But in the meantime, I am excited that Rae Ann was able to reconnect, and so we can actually talk to her about wedding fashion outside of the bride, because I think it's just important for the mother of the bride, the sisters, the aunt, the cousins, to be able to have a place to go to for their dresses. So Rae Ann, it's great to see you. I'm glad that you were able to connect.
Nice to be here. Me too. Took a while. We're in.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. And so one of the questions that I asked Jen at the very beginning, what are some of the main things? What are the 3 big things that you hope that people kind of set in their mind before they start the journey in finding that special dress for the occasion?
So I like that people come in with a very open mind and use our stylists to help them find that perfect dress. Looking on the internet and looking at pictures of other people is awesome for them to get an idea, but they really need to come in and our stylists need to help them find the perfect dress. And mothers of the bride, mothers of the are very important in the wedding. So they need to look good, feel good, and help us. We need to help them.
Well, and that's the thing is that, there's a fine line for a lot of people in the wedding industry as far as like, you don't want to outshine the bride, but you also don't want to be the person that everybody goes, oh my God, can you believe what she just wore? I mean,
Exactly.
You don't want to be that mother, right?
No, you don't. You want to be, and we have young mothers, they want to look young, but they don't want to look like prom girls. So we need to make sure of that. And we have older moms that still don't want to look like grandmas. So there's a lot that goes into the mom's dresses. And they're just not another person attending the wedding. They are a very important part of the wedding.
Amazing. And we've got Christian back. So Christian, it looks like you're in a brand new area of your store for the men's side.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know where I got sucked out at, but we on the men's side, we have 3 different style stations. I happen to be standing in one of them now, and they're private fitting rooms. And one of them is the one here that we do the bespoke side of our business. And so that is where we make the custom tuxedos, dinner jackets, or wedding suits. We have another similar room that we do the athleisure line that we carry. So our athleisure line is our joggers, our t-shirts, our athletic shorts, our sneakers, our jeans, things of that sort that more they're wearing on a daily basis, more so than for their wedding. And then we have another room that's very similar to this where we do kind of their Miami chic style of clothing, and that's their beautiful sport coats, open collared shirts, dress pants or jeans, and the shoes that accompany that as well. And so it depends. A lot of times with one client, we might be designing things in each of the 3 different rooms for them. Right. And then what's kind of sandwiched in between all of those is our bar. So we have an open bar as well, which is everybody enjoys. We have our scotch, our premium scotches and whiskeys. We carry red and white wines, non-alcoholic drinks as well. And all kind of fun things out there. So we build a place where men can come and be comfortable. Same thing with their fiance and have a really great experience, literally head to toe.
So Jan, you've got kind of that same kind of setup, correct? I mean, especially now during COVID, I think it's probably more important than ever to have that exclusive experience for a bride to be able to feel safe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way that I designed the stores originally, we were always kind of set up that way. So in both locations, the rooms are very private and secluded. So it hasn't really been that hard for us to follow the guidelines and kind of stick to what everybody's comfortable with. Our areas have always been private, so it kind of works out. I think, the only thing that we've kind of curtailed is people wandering through the store on a busier day. But otherwise, we really didn't have to change too much because the privacy of the appointment was always something I valued. So we were already structured to be that way.
Did you have an open bar?
Always.
I'm just saying. I mean, I think
staff meetings with vodka and orange juice.
I was about to say because I think Christian's
That's brunch. Yes.
Right? That's brunch, but I feel like Christian's got a leg up, so to speak, for the men's side of it.
We laugh because right across the street we have a liquor store and a funeral home, so we feel like we can do it all. We're ready.
Well, oh my God! From beginning to end, there you go.
I'll just drink.
Right, just drink. So Jen, what are kind of the new fashion? What are the latest trends when it comes to wedding dresses? Because everything follows a season thereabouts, and
Oh, for sure. It's
tell
funny
us a
because
little bit.
COVID sort of put a halt on all the trends since people are getting married, at home or in somebody's yard or, on the beach alone. We see a shift to a lot more clean styles, a lot more classic looks. The super, super over the top sexy is kind of wearing itself out a bit. And
Yep.
so there's elements of it, but it's not quite as naked as it was for the last few years with the Israeli designers. And one of the biggest things we're seeing is a change in the neckline as they're bringing back it's a real square neckline, it's beautiful on basically all body types, all builds, doesn't matter how busty you are, wide you are, narrow you are. So that's been really nice to see because for the last several years, all we've seen is the deep V, they all, that's what everybody did. And they're getting away from the all over lace. We're seeing a lot more contrast. We're seeing a lot more patterns, a lot more unique fabrics. And
Right.
everything is much lighter, which is nice.
And so
the
Rae Ann,
50-pound dress is not nearly as popular as it used to be.
thank God, because
Right?
that leads to tripping. Honestly,
My
if
wrap
the heavier the dress,
Yeah.
the more likely is that you're going to trip down the aisle. But Rae Ann, are you seeing kind of the same kind of trajectory when it comes to ladies' fashion outside of the bride? Are you seeing that kind of a little bit bigger nod to the traditional idea, not the super scoopy necklines?
So yes, but mothers of the bride and grooms, they like off the shoulder, cover a little bit of their sleeve, their arm, I mean. So yes and no. They're going with the outdoor weddings, yes, not as formal and a little bit more easy looking. But the moms still need to, they have certain things they need to cover and they want to look good. So they have, maybe a little bit more structure to their dresses.
Well, and then that leads me to Christian. I mean, with all of this fashion that's happening on the female side, for the ladies' side, how do you balance that with the men's apparel? Like, do you need to see the wedding dress or have an idea of colors or those type of things in order to make sure that a groom is, just perfect for the wedding?
So part of our experience and what's really helpful is that they know what the wedding colors are, and we even ask for that before they come in for their appointment. So creatively, it really helps us to put together some ideas ahead of time that will enhance the colors they're trying to hit. As far as seeing the bride's dress, I think it's certainly helpful, but it's not. Most bride's dresses at the end of the day are white dresses or some shade of white, so it doesn't. Really aid, I would say, in the design of their outfits. It's nice to be aware, but what's more is the general theme of what they're trying to accomplish. Because with weddings, and I've been doing them for so long now, for 30 years plus, is typically they're going to be in 4 buckets. Number one is their formal wedding, and so they're going to be in a more formal wear, and that's your tuxedos or your dinner jacket looks, right?
Right.
And for that trend, I would tell you there's 2. Is number one is men are not opting to go the ready to wear route or the rental route. Certainly if you're on a budget, those are options. That's not typically the client that we see, but they really want something that's customized to help them really look their best on their special day. And it's our job, as I say, to help them look second best, right? And so usually it's the woman that's
Nicely put.
But
Go ahead and mess up Dad's hair. It's fine.
But having direction ahead of time to know if they do want a tuxedo or a dinner jacket, or if they don't know the differences between those, we'll certainly educate them whenever they come in. I would say the biggest trend we're seeing right now is men as well, because of COVID. They're opting for more wedding suits, so they're anticipating a return back to work, return back to some formality post-COVID, and they're wanting to spend their wedding dollars wisely, and so they're opting for more wedding suits than a traditional tuxedo, because they may not wear formal wear because of events, or that may be a question. And so we're doing a lot more wedding suits than traditional tuxedos or dinner jackets. And then the fourth bucket that we're seeing still, because we are Miami based too, is just your destination weddings. And that's, typically themes. It's people that are getting married in the beach or backyard, or there's some kind of theme to it that they're wanting to accomplish. For example, it could be as simple as just great linen shirts and pants, and they're rolling up the bottoms and want to look consistent. And so whatever the bucket is, we're very adept at helping them to achieve that look. The other part is people want custom. They definitely prefer that over wear, because it really gives us a chance to personalize their garments and make them special to them, for the photography, for all the things they're going to look back on in 20 years and look at those pictures and and smile still to this day. So that's our make it special for the groom.
Well, and and I'm not going to call out anybody's ages because I'm not one to talk, but we have over 100 years of wedding expertise just on our 6 screens here. I have seen the trends come and go. I mean, I've even seen a bride throw a wedding dress off a balcony because she was
I'm on my two.
So I'm just, I've kind of seen it all. But Rae Ann, I mean, when somebody comes in, have you ever seen that the bride really tries to input her style into her mom's and why, right? And why,
okay, the worst,
right? And why shouldn't they? Because I feel like a mother's fashion or an aunt's fashion is very different than the younger generation.
Exactly.
There's a way to balance it.
There is definitely a way to balance it. I understand the bride wants color and they want, to follow the theme, but the mom has to look good, and they need to look good in the color they choose, and they need to look good in the style. And I've seen sometimes where younger brides will want their moms to look like prom girls, and it really, it just does, it's not becoming, and they don't look pretty. They don't, it's just not good for them. And I don't know. We're stuck when that happens. The bride is making all the choices, and kind of like they're bridezillas. I don't know. Jan sees that a lot too.
I was about to say
we get a lot of momzillas.
Or like
I was about
Carrie.
to say, Jan, you get the opposite.
We
You
have-
get the
yes,
moms coming in and
had a
saying,
mom years ago that had a bridal designer make her a bridal gown to wear to the dog.
"No."
Oh yes, and she ordered an enormous gold tiara from us to go with it.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, she still wants to reign supreme,
Crazy.
no matter whose day it is.
So we get the opposite. We get the mom that's all out there, everything's out, and the daughter's having a cow. So
Yeah.
it's both. So
Awesome.
it's special and it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And the worst.
Go ahead.
No, the worst is when the mother of the bride and groom come in together, and
Yes.
one is very strong
Mhm.
and is telling the other what they should wear. Not a good idea. Come
No.
separately, do it on your own. Everybody needs to be themselves. That's how they feel comfortable and look the most beautiful.
Well,
so how do you?
Oh my God!
How do you make someone feel comfortable without hurting their feelings when, like, mom's picking out the worst dress ever? How do you go about, like, hey, by the way, without saying, hey, you look like a cow? How do you handle that? Look like a lamb. You're an animal, whatever you're gonna do.
Very discreetly pull out something I think is in between what everybody likes, and ask them to just trust me and put this dress on and see what it looks like, and you can tell me no if you hate it. So that's what I do.
Well, and what about Jan? Like, you same thing. I'm like, if you don't want to tell a bride that she looks like a packed sausage. Because we've had those, and Spanx only takes you so far. And I can attest personally to that. Don't ask.
You have to really gauge your crowd, and you have to gauge the bride. And I only get, honestly, probably one a year where it's like, please, Jesus, just don't tell anyone you came here. Just tell them you're ordering it online.
Okay, Jan, you can come sit next to me. I like it.
But for the most part, we do our very best to steer them.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you get a bride and that's what she feels the best in and her heart is really set on it, you just have to roll with it and pray the seamstress can work some magic. That's
and
for the most part, though, we can usually steer them out of something really heinous.
Well,
that's not, I guess, as long as the check clears, darling, right?
Right, exactly. And then we have the opposite side, because Christian, do you have groomzillas? Like, I mean, Can the same thing be said? I was about to say, you know, I think brides get a bad rap, but do you also get this for like grooms, parents of grooms that say, no, that's not what you're going to wear?
Oh my God, I am so glad I'm in the men's business.
Mm-hmm.
We
Which tie? Which
Does anybody
color?
cry at your store, Christian?
so
I'm curious.
I have been in.
Oh, and we lost him. Anyway, so let's go back to aunts and sisters and mothers, right, Rae Ann?
Yep.
Do you ever get into a situation where you have several of them that compete when it comes to visuals? And, you know, where do you draw that line? Who should come first? Let's just put it that way. Outside of the bride, who should come first when it comes to their dress level?
Okay, so outside of the bride, the mother of the bride is the next important woman at the wedding, and the mother of the groom. And they do compete. A lot of, that's why I said it before, let's not bring mother and bride together and groom together, because it's very difficult because they're competing with each other along with the bride. Aunts should be, you know, down on the totem pole a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. But mothers of the bride and groom, and then grandmothers. Grandmothers are so important. They're at their, you know, I mean, they're very important also. They're the matriarchs of the families. So they're important.
And a lot of times I feel like people forget the grandma because, you know, the grandma probably has something that they've worn to the last 30 events that they feel very comfortable in. And then how do you convince them that, like, no, this is the time for you to find the new schmuck. This is, you know.
You need a new dress, grandma.
Yes.
You need a new dress.
Exactly.
How many pictures have you been in that dress? Let's try and find you something.
All of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then also, you know, when we're talking about wedding fashion, we're talking about, especially women's fashion, a lot of times people forget that there are things that are sometimes pinned to the dress. Luckily for grandparents, it's a little bit more about wrist corsage and stuff. But, you know, I have run into several situations where they've done some type of brooch or pin for either the mom or the mother-in-law or the grandmother. And of course, they're wearing a sheer top. I mean, how does that actually play into the planning of the outfit? Like, you know,
No.
what are some of the other things that
I don't really have that problem too much with my mothers of the bride and groom.
The flap in the arm and
Yeah.
that's all they care about.
Yeah, they just care, you know, if we can pin their arms down, they'd wear it. But other than that, yeah.
Hey, listen, some animals are just fast like that. I mean, they're fast.
Well, and you know, and sometimes they think that the little sleeve jacket is going to do everything for them to calm down those arms, but sometimes it ends up making it look worse because the sleeves are either too tight, and then you get the you know, the bread on the other side of the saran wrap kind of
Well, that's why you come to a store like mine, so we can customize those sleeves and the necklines and make the dress look good and fit well too with the right dressmaker and the right dress.
So Jan, I feel like there's an expertise that comes into this a little bit when it comes to wedding dresses, because we all feel like we're experts because we've been listening to Say Yes to the Dress for so long.
Oh my God.
I hate that show.
Tell me more, Keith. Tell me more.
Right? But you know, one of the things that I think I see on Say Yes to the Dress all the time is that they start with the basic dress, and then they keep adding like bling. They add the belt, they add the neckline, they add the sleeves. You know, is that something that you also should be considered when thinking about like the dress, like your dress?
We do a lot of customization, but at the same time, you know, I'm a big believer in not throwing the kitchen sink at it. Do you know what I mean? I want to see you. I don't want to see a dress with a head on top. So, you know me, Keith. I'm the true seller.
I love this. I love this. You know, of course.
It's very like say yes to the dress, say no to the hoe.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, I love what you just said there. That's awesome. Yeah, but exactly. How do you make sure?
Too much. It's like, it's like that back in the day. Remember that giant red bouquet? And I just used to tell, I was like, nobody sees you. They see a giant red spot on the.
And can we talk about red? It is the traditional color of streetwalkers now, isn't it?
Yes.
We do know the story of the Louis Vuitton red heel.
Anyway.
I mean,
yes. Well,
we've seen 101. I gotcha.
Well, we've seen enough. We've seen enough brides, unfortunately, paint their regular shoes with a red bottom. But we're not going to get into that. That's a whole different show.
So we try to show a little restraint. Yes, we add things, and yes, we do a ton of custom work, especially out of the Boca location.
Right.
But I don't believe in taking something beautiful and throwing 50 pounds of crap on top of it to try and make it better.
Exactly.
Add a little,
Find what you
add
like.
a little there, but for the love of God, put down the bedazzler. That's
my God. Well, and Christian was just talking about the fact that he was glad that he is working with men because of some of this
they don't
stuff.
cry. They don't cry at your store, do they?
Well, or maybe. Do they cry?
They shouldn't.
No, I've never had anybody that has cried.
Exactly.
That would be a first.
And there's not a lot that a man can really add to a suit that which you would consider bedazzled. I mean, outside of the handkerchief and some other but what are some of the things that a man should think about when it comes to dressing properly? The add-ons, let's say.
Yeah, so it's one
deodorant.
thing. It depends on the button. It depends on the outfit, of course. Tuxedo or dinner jacket, which is your most formal level. Some of the things that we get them to consider is it just doesn't stop with the two pieces that you buy. For example, your shirting, and it's important that we give counterbalance in the shirting. So, for example, if there's some sort of texture in the ground color of the tuxedo or the dinner jacket, we want to give counterbalance in the texture that we pick out for the white shirt. And then our always biggest piece of advice is that they should have two shirts made for the day, because especially being here in Miami, or it doesn't matter where you're at, is half the day you're taking pictures, you're active, and it's hot, and you're going to sweat and perspire, and you're going to make that shirt a mess. And so to have two different looks in a shirt is super important. So those are just little tips they're going to get whenever they come in to see us. And then as far as just the accoutrements or all the accessories that go along with it. So there are a lot of different things. So there is the breast part, which is a pocket square. I'm wearing a lapel blossom today, which is not so prominent. Personally, I don't like boutonnieres. Boutonnieres kind of feel like my 1986 prom that I went to, right? So a lapel blossom that's well done, well thought out with the wedding colors that enhances. Plus, you can give them out to the groomsmen. I think is quite nice, and there's lots of those resources. All the way down to what they have a facial shape and what style of bow tie looks their best. You have the jumbo butterfly, the straight. We know how to teach to tie those, as well as to pick the right bow tie or the cravat or formal tie for them, with a tuxedo, with a dinner jacket. If it's a wedding suit, same thing, is how can we enhance, to bring out their jewel tone that looks best on them. Our staff, myself, I'm trained in color, and so to know exactly what their jewel tone is, number one, and number two is what colors, even though the bride picks out the colors for the most part, the man's, second stage to that is that might not be his best color, because grooms are either a warm, a neutral, or they're a cool. And if warm tones, he's a cool, but all warm tones are picked out for the wedding. So we'll pick some of those elements to enhance them in the outfit themselves, right?
Well, and I have to tell you is that I swore my whole life, that I was a bow tie guy, and I'm not. Let's just. I do not look good in a bow tie, but but that's actually having somebody, and I know I don't. So I see you looking like, well, maybe no, that's not going to happen. But the same thing, there might be a preconceived idea of what a guy feels like he's going to look good in because he sees other people look good. And so I'm assuming that having those private salons helps that bridge that gap between how he thinks he looks and how he really looks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, part of our job, I always hit the ears to just give great advice, and seeing so many body types and shapes and complexions, all of those things enter into the suggestions that we make. So even though they might come in with the picture their wife gave them of Ryan Gosling in a light blue tuxedo, we may consider something or another route for them. We're looking at a different body type or a different color, that might not enhance. Because our job is to help enhance that person and make them look absolutely their most powerful, their best on their day, but at the same time keep them away from making mistakes perhaps that they hadn't thought about. And some of the best advice I always give, especially if they're being accompanied by their fiance, is just look. Think of your pictures in 20 years. If you think of people like John F. Kennedy and you look at his pictures today, the guy still looks amazing today. But we also have all seen a picture from, Dumb and Dumber, or like your crazy, light blue, tuxedo that might have been the most fashionable part of, that decade, but no longer looks that fashionable, in 30 years. So our job is to, kind of tilt them in that direction. But sometimes, the client wants to be just Instagram famous and they're looking for, that wow or that picture. Well, if that's the mistake, then we'll help them with that. But not too often. A lot of times they're going to listen to our advice and say, okay, that makes sense.
Wow. That's actually a really good leeway. So Instagram is, I think, the devil's child when it comes to fashion.
Yeah.
Honestly, that and Pinterest. You might as well just make a knife and put Pinterest on one side and Instagram on the other and stab me with it, because there's so many times that a bride comes in that has a preconceived idea of what she looks like, or even a mother of what she looks like based on what she's seen. Jan, how do you help them bridge that gap, like from what they think should look good and what actually looks
What
good?
does. So we do a lot of pre-planning before the girls come in. We have, the Pinterest and the Instagram. We try as best we can for most of our clients to get pictures before they come into the store, so we have a general idea of what they think they want.
Right.
And usually what happens is we let them try a few on of the pictures that they've chosen, and then we'll toss a wild card in there. We'll toss our choice in based on what we know will actually look good. And once you do that, you can kind of steer it from there in the direction that it needs to go.
Nice. Well, and that same thing goes for Rae Ann. I mean, Rae Ann, same thing goes for you. Like, do you have like a pre-planning process to help, so that way people aren't there for 3 hours, that, to help kind of?
Yes, we do. We do the same type of thing. Ask them to bring in their pictures and let's see what they're looking at and what the bride likes. And then we start pulling dresses for them also that we feel. As soon as I see a customer and start to see their personality, I can pull dresses that are what they're looking for or what they think they're looking for, but more what's better for them.
Well, and what do you start with? Do you start with color? Do you start with type? What is
Right.
it goes back to that first question.
Yes, because the mothers of the bride and groom are dictated by those beautiful brides. We have to, we have to start with color first. And because the brides are going to tell them what colors they want to wear. And then we go from there, color, style, price range, and then go from there. It's really all about getting the customer in the dressing room and hopefully having the bride there or via FaceTime so that we know exactly what both parties are looking for, the mom and the bride.
Oh my God, talking about, with COVID, that means are you doing more things via FaceTime? And then how do you do the fitting?
So what we're doing with COVID, mainly their family FaceTimes. We usually have sometimes a whole group. So instead of the group it's on the couch, like the bridal shops have, a lot of the women come in and they're FaceTiming their husbands and their daughters and the bride but for the most part, we're pretty COVID secure and safe because we're working by appointment only now, and we're giving each customer 2 hours to work with us and find a dress. And nobody else is in the store, or if there is, we do have them very separate. So we're pretty COVID safe.
Well, okay, and then I'm actually gonna broach probably a subject is pricing, because obviously pricing has to come into this equation at some point, and there's got to be a level of education. Jan, I mean, where do you start? How do you start that conversation when it comes to pricing? Do you think brides should already have a budget, and do you only show them dresses that are in that budget?
They need to have at least an idea, especially, I've got one store that's not a huge spread. It's 1,000 to 3,000, but my Boca store is 1,500 to 20,000.
Right.
That's a huge spread. So it can lead to a lot of disappointment if you don't have any idea of, kind of what it is. Because if you fall in love with something, you try on the $10,000 dress, the $1,500 dress is not going to feel the same after that.
Right.
So we try to start with where they're at. That's one of the benefits of getting the pictures early, because they'll send you pictures of really high-end designers, and then we can ask, like, what do you where would you like to be with this, because this dress is, and then we kind of go from there.
Well,
we do let them try on above, but we always make sure that they know that that's what they're doing, and once they go up, it's very hard to go back. And as long as they're comfortable with that, then we'll roll with them. But we just you gotta know what you're doing before you do it.
I was about to say, because I was over at Brooke's place yesterday, and she has this like gorgeous dress that's hanging off of it, and I had no idea what that cost. I just knew that it was like incredible. I do now. Yeah, I do now. But but there's a level of education that comes with it, and a lot of times it's the hand beating and what have you that really adds to the overall cost. And do you discuss effect versus cost when it comes to that?
Did anybody miss me or notice that I was gone?
Yeah, of course we did.
Did anybody even notice I did a costume change and everything? So what happened was my breaker blew because I changed where I normally do the show at, and I heard the air click on, and all of a sudden, okay, well, let's do some tricks, because I'm a stunt queen. So I was like, welcome change and give them something.
Welcome to a live show. So, Christian, the same question then goes to you. I mean, because a lot of times guys don't know how much things cost. And unfortunately, in the world of Men's Warehouse and Joseph A. Banks, I think that, the idea of what a really good custom suit costs may be a little lost. I mean, how do you go about educating, your clients, your customers that are coming in?
Yeah, so I always find it best, to try and find out some of those things ahead of time, just so we can kind of know where the starting place is or where the comfort zone is. But when I, sit down with the client, I always like to show cloth and talk about outfits in a best, better, good scenario. And so I'll typically lead with my best, but my best depends a little bit on the pre-approach that I had before, because of such a wide variety and price gap between our entry level to our most luxurious levels. For example, if a guy is coming in and he wants to spend in the $1,500 to $2,200 range, I'm not going to lead with a $20,000 tuxedo. That doesn't make sense, right? And so where the best is relative to kind of where they are. So I'll challenge them a little bit and then educate them, and then I always let the client decide the level of luxury they prefer, because one of the lessons I learned very early on in my career is to show and let them decide, not to spend money from their own or past prejudgments on their budget or their spending. A lot of times, I think men are fairly comfortable now. It seems like with a custom tuxedo, they're going to be anywhere in the $1,500 to $2,200 range. They're pretty comfortable in that zone, regardless of what they do or whatever they have. So that expectation is there. If they're buying a custom tuxedo, I'm not really dealing with, I thought it was just going to be $800. They've done their research a lot of times before they come in, and it's all on our website and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's just a matter of finding the sweet spot that's comfortable for them and keeping them in the budget, which we always wind up doing. But sometimes they'll push themselves. They'll find out something they like in the better story, and if they can afford it, that's certainly the decision going to help them.
Well, and I noticed that you've got some really beautiful shoes behind your left shoulder, and I have to tell you that there are moments that I have a groom that that swears that his $1,000 pair of sneakers goes with the tuxedo.
Every
that he
single
is-
thing.
Right? That he is
Pajamas,
wearing.
onesies, tuxedos.
Exactly, right? And I mean, and do you have that discussion with your clientele that's coming in, like what's proper and not proper for a wedding? And I guess at the end of the day, obviously the customer is always right, but have you seen that? I feel like that's a very now kind of trend to have their very expensive kind of tennis shoes, but matched with a custom tailored suit.
It's definitely a trend. It's something I'm doing a wedding this weekend he bought Nike ID shoes for all the groomsmen wearing it. We made his bow tie to match the swoosh and the design. So yes, that is definitely a trend. That's okay. I mean, that's like one of those Insta things, they want to be, have the picture for that day. And so it'll be cool. But I have the same discussion with them ahead of time on the 20-year advice. Just think of your pictures in 20 years. But some of them are just like, well, it's just me. It's my wedding. It's what I want. So we're going to help them accomplish it. So as long as we provide the advice for them and, they can decline it. And if that's the case, then, we'll help them with whatever direction that they want.
Well, and Rae Ann, I guess you don't really have to ever deal with, somebody trying to combine their high tops with a nice dress. Or am I wrong on that?
Not usually. Not usually.
Let's say.
No, not for the moms.
How do you ladies feel about the bride wearing black?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think I'll bring it down here in a moment.
That's a good question because that is a trend right now. That is that's an Instagram trend right now is the bride wearing black.
No, but I have a few designers that tried it a few years ago. No.
You're just like, no,
not.
We're not even going to discuss it. It's just a no.
Not to the wedding.
Well, and so Rae Ann,
I think I need to pull the gun out, Keith.
Right, all right. Rae Ann, what is kind of your worst? Give me your worst scenario. What is the one thing that stood out for a bad choice that you just could not talk her out of? As general as you can get, because obviously we don't want to call out any specific person. But,
right.
Was there a moment that you went, yeah, there's nothing I can do. I'm just going to have to shove her in this dress and get her out of. Yeah, I just have to get her out of here.
I have to say, it's when the mom chooses a sexy prom dress. Everything is just open and showing, and even though they have a great body, I just think cut down to here and the navel and open side.
Oh,
sometimes there's nothing we can do. We try, and they don't need to look like old ladies. We don't want anyone to look like an old lady if they're young, but I
think it's more about the cut, really, than anything, especially when you're a little older. Some are a certain weight or not, and I think it's more because I'm a bigger girl. I'm a plus size girl, and you have to know how to dress your body properly because you can still be big and beautiful all day long.
Exactly, you can be sexy and beautiful, but it's just you're right. It's about the cut.
And nothing says high end like a navel.
She knows two things, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not just the clown on the show today.
I'm just saying. Well,
we run into a lot too. The mom that the husband ran off with the best friend or the 30-year-old trophy wife. We get a lot of that as well.
Oh no!
There's a lot of competition and stress in that scenario for sure.
Well, especially if the new mom or mother-in-law is the same age as the bride, I'm sure that gets a little tricky.
We've had younger.
Yeah, really younger, meaning that. Oh,
do you know where my store is? Yes, we have.
Love is love.
Love is love. And Christian, the same thing goes for you. I'm sure, because now more than ever, we're seeing a lot of winter, spring weddings, and love is love. Obviously, I'm a big believer in that. But when you have a much older client coming in that's getting married to a much younger woman, I mean, there's got to be a balance there when you're trying to dress them for.
Thank you, you're kind.
For some youth.
That's what the sneakers are for, Keith.
Oh, that's what the sneakers are for. Oh, thank you. Now it all comes together. Now it totally makes sense why you would wear sneakers. But I'm assuming that's
7 minutes of the show, honey. Here it comes.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not. But I mean, honestly, you're not dressing a 60-year-old like you would dress a 25-year-old, right? or you?
There are differences, I would say, in that. You know, at the end of the day, a man, regardless, simply looks his best in a suit. I mean, you can't think of another outfit, whether it's a polo shirt, a t-shirt, even if he's got a great body. And regardless of the age, the lines on a suit sartorially is the very best, whether it's a tuxedo or suit or dinner jacket. And so our job is to help hit the sweet spot of balancing, number one, the color, his complexion, his ethnicity, his hairstyle, and his build and the body type, and to marry all of that together in the look. And so definitely age is a factor. And you just know, from the length of the jackets to how fitted they like them. A lot of that is related to the age and, the comfort and where they came from. But to hit that sweet spot to make sure, A, they're comfortable, but B, that they look their best in front of, their people that are coming together for their special day. And so all of those are definitely factors that we consider when making recommendations. But more importantly, when we're cutting the pattern for them by hand, those are where it's really thought about. Yeah.
Well, and I have a very serious question. Bridesmaids dresses can be a future cocktail dress. Just saying. I'm just like, I love when brides tell their bridesmaids, it's like, you can
totally wear this again.
Totally wear this again.
Well, actually, I have a question
But I have a
regarding
great
that.
You can donate it to.
That's
So,
true. Go ahead,
people
Marcy.
Are people still doing the same dress for every bridesmaid,
No.
or are they leaning still
That's
towards?
gone.
Okay.
I almost never ever do it, and that's out of either location. We never do them all in the same dress anymore.
Thank
It's
God.
definitely gotten better. It's definitely an improved thing, and there's a few designers out there that are trying to give a more ready to wear look.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you're always going to look at it as the bridesmaid's dress in the back of your closet.
Well, and honestly, I feel like the world of fashion went through kind of like in the 90s, went into this kind of like more casual phase. And I feel like we're starting to come up the other end of that to get to a part where people have pride in how they look and just the general dress. And I think that probably is working for you, Christian. I mean, when it comes to that, I think that guys now, it's more than ever accepted to be able to take care of your skin, take care of your hair, and look sharp and get that tailored suit. Are you starting to see kind of an uptrend in that?
For sure, men are becoming more educated on just not only the products, but also the services that are out there. They're really not that costly for them when you think about your, investment of yourself and your brand, especially today. I mean, most of the men, whatever they're doing for a living, they have some component of working on Zoom, just like we're here today, speaking. They're seeing your face up close and all of those things as well. And, essentially now your brand is that, almost like your picture, right? And
right.
So present yourself, project, as well as, your style, both online and offline, are super important. And then there's the health and vitality of it as well. I mean, people, are really into a lifestyle to extend their health and their vitality through the years. I just use myself as an example. I'm 52 years old, and I didn't own a salon until I was in my 40s. And while I did think about those things as being important, now that I'm in ownership, I see the products and the new things that are coming out, from Botox for hair to how to help hair follicles, grow back in
right.
for men, to just the awesome hair color stuff that is out there for men that really can help enhance a gentleman's look, extend their years, make them feel and look younger, which at the end of the day is about their confidence and how they hold themselves. And so, like, I know I feel certainly a lot different when I color my hair than when it's on my 3.5 week and I look at myself in the mirror a little more silver, right? And so,
right, yes.
Yeah,
and that open bar doesn't hurt. I'm just saying.
Well, if they're dressed horribly, just drink it away, darling.
Yes, just drink it away.
Photographer.
Well,
you can
and then
anyone pretty if you try hard enough.
100%. I've always said good looks are a light switch away. I'm just saying. So Jen, I mean, now, I mean, more than ever, I'm actually finding second weddings that are starting to become like bigger than their first weddings, which I love. I'm a big fan of that, by the way. And if you're out there and looking at a second wedding, but I mean, how do you then design for a bride that's older? Because obviously they, again, we're in a new era where people are taking much better care of themselves, but also all body types are being celebrated. Thank God, finally.
Yes,
So I'm assuming that there's a lot more designers out there that are able to give you a wider variety of dresses to help dress the modern bride.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because honestly, there used to be a real large spread of the 20-year-old bride and the 40-year-old bride. And there's just not so much anymore. The 40-year-old bride doesn't look 40 anymore. And it may be her second or third or fourth, just depends. We do many of all of those and we welcome them, but she's not nearly as conservative as she used to be. And she's not nearly as concerned about, I was already a bride.
Right.
We still very much find now that she wants to look like a bride. And she also tends to veer towards the sexier look, which I find interesting. But I think there's a lot more confidence, in the age of Jennifer Aniston, there's just, being 50 is not a big deal anymore.
Well, and that's not fair, honestly.
I know.
Nobody
My mom's
should.
25th, they
I was
renewed their
about to
vows,
say.
and she went shorter and sexier, and I did her hair and makeup because I was born, and she looked amazing. Out of both weddings, that's the best she's ever looked.
Yeah,
Well,
right?
and then
the plastic surgery capital of the
Oh, yeah, I love.
that doesn't hurt matters at all.
I have to tell you, I'm a fan of plastic surgery. One day when I can afford it, I'm all over it.
So,
well, and Rae Ann, are you sorry? I'm assuming that's starting to make a difference in kind of the fashion that you're seeing as well for mother-in-laws and mothers, because people are fitter. They are staying younger, either by eating right or by surgery.
Exactly.
No,
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
We're not here.
Yeah.
We're not here to judge, but
Well,
does it
right.
also mean that you're seeing a wider selection of fashion that's available for, older women?
Yes, because again, the moms and the mothers of the bride and groom are certainly of all different ages. And I don't know that I see so many. Maybe Jan, I don't see too many 20-year-old brides coming in like we used to. I think I see an average of 30.
No, they're definitely
above. They're older, so their moms are older but more fit. Their 50-year-old doesn't look like the 50-year-old mom today doesn't look like the 50-year-old mom of the 80s.
No, not at all.
And listen, I had two brides this past month that are very didn't want traditional bridal gowns. So one was 70 and the other one was I think she was like 80, 80. So
Yeah.
And they wore pretty hip dresses,
Love it.
They were kind of
hip grandma. That's what we always
What
want a
color
hip
did they
grandma.
wear?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And they looked good. They looked really good.
Yeah,
Were
Brooke's
they white?
asking about the color.
Yeah,
You're so
what color?
funny.
Oh, well, they still want white. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they probably do.
Like champagne.
See, I wore champagne at my first because I was
Yeah.
just a little older and not a flower anymore.
Well,
I wear
you're always a flower. Well, okay, so we're actually already getting to an hour, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface. But I would like to ask y'all, a final question. And basically, if you were the bride or groom, what would you want in your wedding dress, or as a groom, or what would be your style? Jan, what would be your ideal wedding dress for you?
For me personally,
Yes.
I think I just broke out in hives. Wait, what?
Who's sewing that for you, gal?
For me personally, if I were to get rid of the hives, I would want to be comfortable.
Right.
I mean, obviously you want to look fabulous, but I don't want to be in something scratchy or heavy.
And how about you, Rae Ann?
Mine would be very classical, kind of simple and elegant. That would be mine.
And Christian, what's your favorite suit? What is the what is the premium suit that you've bought that you love that you feel amazing in?
Well, if it was for a wedding, what I would say, if it was my own wedding, let's say, which I've been married for 27 years, so it's been a while for me, if I was to get have a second wedding, for example, and I was to pick, and knowing what I know now, what I would say is something that highlights me as a male in the attributes that I love, which is the pectorals, the biceps, and the thinning waistline, that I have. And then like what Jan had said too, is something that also is very comfortable. And so the comfort part of that's really important throughout the day as you navigate and do all the things you have to do on a wedding day. So like in Miami, it's so important. Like a velvet tux dinner jacket, as cool as that may be for the red carpet.
No,
Yeah, you would die in that thing if you had it on in Miami, right? And so
Right.
we're too old to be uncomfortable at this point.
Yes, I agree. Too old to be
It
comfortable.
better look damn good, but it better feel good too.
Well, and the great thing about Zoom is that waist down, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, nobody cares.
I know we're running out of time, but I have a quick question that rears
Yes,
into
ma'am.
the last one.
Yes.
When it comes to style, and I heard both of you ladies, so how do you feel about two different gowns? One for the wedding, because I do want to be a classic beauty, and then but also I'm not dead yet, so I kind of want to be sexy at the reception too. So I would, of course, when I do travel down that aisle again, there will be two, if not three.
Yeah. So what do you
How do
think
you feel
about two
about that?
dresses? Yeah.
We do it
Jan?
all the time. I think it's more for the girl that wants the more traditional gown for the wedding.
Right.
If you go
That's
sexy
me, yeah.
for the ceremony, you don't really need to go sexy again for the reception as much. But if you're looking for like a fuller dress, a grander look for the ceremony,
At that point, you're just wasting money. Like switch it up
exactly.
completely,
And
right?
I've had many that have done it, and we're happy to help.
Right.
But it makes a whole lot more sense if you're trying to go from the big, heavy, elaborate dress to the short, sexy, fun.
Because you do want to be
one-of-a-kind
comfortable
dress.
at the party and all that too.
Yeah.
Plus, you're going to be eating, hopefully. So.
Well, what about Rae Ann? Rae Ann, are you seeing parents, mothers have two dresses,
Yeah.
one for the ceremony?
Very few, but sometimes they'll wear for the temple or church a suit or a dress,
Yeah.
and then change into the gown depending on how far apart the ceremony is from the party.
And Christian,
Normal.
and we're gonna end the conversation with you. For you, are you seeing people that are doing two different grooms that are doing an outfit for the ceremony and doing a second outfit for the reception?
not so much, but what I would tell you, and I think I could add to the conversation, is for men, when they come in, is we do get to think about their wedding activities as a whole. It's not just about the wedding day, but it's about the activities that proceed up to the wedding day, and then also where you go afterwards as well. And so, for example, all of those are going to live in history and infamy in pictures today. And so, you have a rehearsal dinner where you have to look your best as well. And so we help them with that outfit and get them to think about that, even though they didn't come in a lot of times in a wedding appointment to consider that. And then you might be leaving on a long boat to Taiwan somewhere, after to go someplace really fantastic, is to think about your clothing for the honeymoon as well, and how we can enhance that. And so those are all part of things we encapsulate in our wedding appointment. But as far as two outfits for the wedding, not so much. The man pretty much stays in a fresh change of shirt seems to do the job.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I told you the hour is going to go by super fast, and it did. So I just want to say thank you to Jan Carroll with Boca Raton Bridal, Rae Ann Panciera with Susan Rose, and also Christian Boehm with Jaxson Maximums for being our guest. And of course, always to Marcy Gutenberg and Brooke Logan Stoner, our Behind the Veil crew. It was a great show. Thank you so much for all of your insights and some of the stories. So little naughty stories there too. Awesome. Next week, we're going back again to talk about mental health and wedding planning during the age of COVID. So we got such a huge response from our first episode that we decided to do a part 2. So we're going to welcome back Dr. Tanya Paredes next week, again, to talk about mental health and wellness. Until then, everybody have a great day and join us on our podcast now, Behind the Veil Podcast. Everybody say goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.